rich man's wealth is in the city. Oh, destruction of the poor is our poverty. Lord, destruction of our soul is vanity. Well, do you hear? Naughty dread wonder if you will. Whoa, I and I, we want to rule our destiny. Oh yeah, I and I, Jah will make you rule our destiny.
So the system set it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
For if them don't have you fighting against yourself, them go have trouble. For if them see you unite within yourself, them know so for them all get slacker. But when them can't get you struggling among yourself, them all is tighter. And that is how them set it.
If thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as a usurer, neither shalt thou lay upon him usury. If thou at all take thy neighbor's raiment to pledge, thou shalt deliver it unto him. By that the sun goeth down.
Countries in the world, now them a have a little meeting, and them a plan to keep and oppress the poor. So them have a little meeting.
We would like to take this opportunity to extend a very warm welcome to all visitors to our beautiful island. We do hope you'll enjoy your stay here.
These countries want to stay on top, so they'll find any way to them. Third world people life, but a small price to be paid.
If you come to Jamaica as a tourist, this is what you will see. If you come by airplane, you will certainly land in Montego Bay and certainly not in Kingston.
Welcome to Jamaica. What all is must do. We're glad that you joined us. We'll be waiting for you. Welcome to Jamaica. Turn you right home. Welcome to Jamaica. This deal is your own. We're proud of Jamaica.
You are thinking of the hard and cold and long days you spent working, earning money so that you could stay in this place, Jamaica, where the sun must always shine, where the climate is deliciously hot and dry, at least for the 4 to 10 days you will stay here. You are indifferent to the fact that you can enter this country simply by showing your driver's license. You are indifferent to this fact because you can travel anywhere. The thought that a citizen of Jamaica would have to give an exhaustive account of how and why they have lived to visit your native country must never cross your mind. Was. So you could imagine how I felt when one day driving on the Queen's Highway I asked myself, is the Jamaica that I see before me self-ruled, a worse off place than it was when dominated by the bad-minded English?
My government in the United Kingdom has laid down its responsibilities and has ceased to have any authority in and over Jamaica after more than 300 years.
One love, oh Lord, one heart, oh, let's join together.
Countries like Jamaica found that when they became free, they soon were in every kind of financial problem because they didn't have the economic strength to, shall we say, make it on their own. They needed time to build economies that could then make it in the world.
When you see what all the food from abroad costs, you realize that the food production to feed ourselves in Jamaica is not only a matter of opportunity for you, it's a matter of survival for the nation.
Comes 1973. There is a world convulsion caused by the oil price increases. All of a sudden, we are having to find sums of money we had never dreamed of before just to make ends meet. Now, what can you do? First of all, you go to the private banking system and you see, well, can I get a private banking loan? Because I'm strapped for cash, I need some support, and I'm having trouble paying my overseas bills.
When the private banks won't lend to you, then you've got to do something if you're the leader of the country. And typically what you've got to do is to cut back your spending in some way and try and get more money so that the impact of those cutbacks are not as severe as they otherwise would be. And it's at that point that you generally come to the IMF.
We are not for sale. And tell them anytime they are willing to deal with an honorable Jamaica based on principles, sovereignty, pride, and dignity, then we will talk the investment of the money.
Bear in mind, this is a country literally beginning to unravel because it cannot finance what it needs. Because you can't have no penicillin in the hospital. You can't have no wheat to make bread.
And we would say, yep, that's true. We understand the crisis you're in, and we need to fix the underlying reasons for that crisis. And so here is what we think needs doing.
What you really need is to sit down with them and say, look, can I work out a 5-year program? And in the meantime, I'm strapped for some cash, so can you help me up front get out of the cash bind and then put it in the context of a long-term development plan? And they said, no, long-term development is your problem. We are here only to see who do you owe the money to, why are you in a bind, and we'll lend you some money in a very short time frame at full interest rate to get you out of the bind. And they then impose upon you tremendous restrictions in what you can spend.
And then we reach agreement on a set of measures on the budget, on the exchange rate, on monetary policy, on interest rates, on banks, on maybe privatization, and say, yep, we think this could solve your problem.
And you say to them, but if I do it that way, when I finish repaying you, I'm going to be in the bind all over because this can't solve my problem. They say, not our problem.
Okay, this is the banana plantation. And you know the banana, they say just like a woman, takes 9 months for bearing.
You pass a building stranded in an acre of overgrown grass, and you think to yourself that its very existence must fall under the Department of Health. It is an outhouse, a public latrine. But when you look again, you see a sign that proclaims this building as a school. The sign says, Basic School. And what could that mean, a basic school? But before you can occupy yourself with this question, your heart skips a beat, for your driver has decided to overtake the car in front of him. It would cause your heart to skip more than a beat if you knew there was not a hospital nearby. That no new hospitals have been built in Jamaica for many years now should not concern you. You're on your holiday.
The whole idea was to set conditions which the government could not meet. And when the government failed to meet them, you would have to renegotiate a new loan in which the conditions became tighter. So the IMF didn't say, cut out this education program or cut out this health program. What the IMF said is, you must spend only so much money on health and education. And the implication of that was that you had to cut out some programs.
Essentially, what the IMF wanted us to do was to devalue our currency. That's the first thing, to make our dollar cheaper.
They needed to expand their exports and diminish their imports. And the best way of doing that is to make foreign currency more expensive.
And since our society is so heavily dependent on imported food, imported fuel, imported books to go to school, imported medicine, when we devalue, the cost of those things we import go up to the citizens. And as a result, the economy today is much more under the control of foreigners, not necessarily through direct ownership, but through the mechanism of debt. In the 1970s, we owed $800 million. By the end of the 1980s, we owed $4 billion. Nowadays, we owe $7 billion. So the debt is rising, and all the time the debt is rising, our capacity to export, to produce, is getting less.